Hi, good morning. So today, we will continue our discussions about solving quadratic equations, specifically incomplete quadratic equation. Yesterday, we discussed about solving incomplete quadratic equation in the form of ax squared plus bx is equal to 0. For today, another incomplete quadratic equations will be discussed, and it is in the form of ax squared plus c is equal to 0. To solve this particular form of quadratic equation, ax squared plus c is equal to 0, the simplest way is by extracting the square root. To solve this form by extracting the square roots, there are 4 steps to be followed. So listen carefully as I discuss the 4 steps. Step number 1. Step number 1 is to transform the given equation in the form of ax squared is equal to z. So it will happen by simply transposing the value of constant to the right side. If we transpose positive number to the right side, it will become negative number. If we transpose negative number to the right side, it will become positive number. Step number 2. Make sure that the numerical coefficient of x squared is 1. If it is not, just simply divide both sides by the numerical coefficient which is not 1. Example, 2x squared. Divide both sides by 2. Another example, 3x squared. Divide both sides by 3 so that the numerical coefficient of x squared will be 1. If we are done with the step 1 and 2, we can now proceed with the step 3, which is extracting the square root on both sides of the equation. And the last step is we have to check the solutions or roots if they are correct. Let us have example number 1. So we have x squared minus 4 is equal to 0. To solve this equation, we just simply follow the 4 steps. Step number 1. Transpose the constant to the right side. So we will have x squared. From negative, it will become positive 4. And second step, make sure that the numerical coefficient of x squared is 1. In this case, the numerical coefficient of x squared is already 1. So we can now proceed with step number 3. And step number 3 is extracting the square root. So we have to extract the square root of x squared, then extract the square root of 4. So we will have square root of x squared is x, and square root of 4 is positive and negative 2. So therefore, our answer is x is equal to positive 2 and x is equal to negative 2. So we have example number 2. So we have 2r squared minus 162 is equal to 0. So the first step, transpose the constant to the right side. So we will have 2r squared. So from negative, it will become positive 162. Then the second step, make sure that the numerical coefficient of r squared is 1. On this case, we have 2 as the numerical coefficient, so we have to divide both sides by 2. So cancelled out 2, we will have r squared is equal to 162 divided by 2 is 81. Then going to the third step, we have to extract the square root on both sides. So we will have square root of r squared and square root of 81. What is the square root of r squared? So we have r. Then square root of 81 is positive and negative 9. So therefore, our answer, r is equal to positive 9 and r is equal to negative 9. So let us now proceed with the third example. So we have y squared plus 16 is equal to 0. First step, transpose the constant to the right side. So we will have y squared. Transposing positive 16 will become negative 16. Then second step, the numerical coefficient of y squared must be 1. So now we can proceed with step number 3, which is to extract the square root on both sides. So the square root of y squared is y. The square root of Negative 16 is, the first one is square root of negative 16, and the second one is negative square root of negative 16. Take note of these roots. We cannot have real roots for this equation since there is a negative number inside the radical sign. Negative number inside the radical signs are not real numbers. So therefore, there is no real roots for this equation. Let's proceed with our last example. So we have quantity x minus 3 squared minus 16 is equal to 0. Our first step is to transpose negative 16 to the right side. So we will have x minus 3 squared. From negative, it will become positive 16. Since the only term on the left side of the equation is quantity x minus 3 squared, there is no need to simplify the equation. Take note that quantity x minus 3 squared here is considered as one term. So we will now proceed with step number 3. And step number 3 is to extract the square root on both sides. So we will have square root of quantity x minus 3 squared is equal to square root of 16. What is the square root of quantity x minus 3 squared? Very good. So we will have x minus 3 is equal to square root of positive 16. We will have positive and negative 4. So to solve for x, we just simply transpose negative 3 to the other side. So this will become x is equal to, from negative, this will become positive 3, then positive negative 4. So x is equal to, let us first use positive 4. So we will have 3 plus 4. 3 plus 4 is equal to 7. And for the next answer, we will use negative 4. So we will have x is equal to 3 minus 4. So x is equal to negative 1. 3 minus 4 is negative 1. So therefore, our final answer, x is equal to 7 and x is equal to negative 1.